My husband surprised his son by taking him to the prom.
Don't mess up that makeup, Jasmine. Jasmine.
What's good, my Souls of Thought family? It's your boy Norris, and we back again for another weekly review. And this week review is going to be a good weekly review. Before we get started, as you can see, even with the preview, we're going to have some bangers today. We're going to be talking about a little bit of everything. I won't tell y'all how we're going to start off the show, but after we start off this show with the banger, we're going to roll into Stephen A. Smith and Bill O'Reilly. They actually have a tour that's about to happen that they're going to be going live, and they're just dropping a lot of good information. But I think it's great to be able to see people on two different spectrums of politics and things of that nature, and to be able to sit down and have a conversation. Then we're going to go into the old, Jasmine Crockett. She continues to do her thing, and right now she's starting to incite, the Dems. I think she's trying to do like a January 6th incite. And then we're going to go to a reaction of the Anton Daniels, the Q panel from last night on Monday night. We're going to actually do a reaction to that. Then we're going to finish the thing off with a little sports because you all know I love sports. We're going to talk about Cam Ward, show you some of his highlights from his pro day. And is he really the number one pick? Is he better than my boy Shador? Who knows? We'll see. But again, thank you guys for coming in and watching the weekly review. It's your boy Norris with Souls of Thought. I'm trying out a new camera today, so hopefully it looks good. Hopefully it comes across good. But I'm trying out a new camera today. So sounds good. Sounds good. So before I go into the first video, man, I have to talk about something. And what I want to talk about is how quick they forget. And when I say they, I mean the black culture. So if you guys remember, man, about a month and a half ago, it was so much going on in the culture. It was people upset at federal workers losing their jobs. It was people getting mad about people losing benefits and Social Security. All these rumors were going around. Then you had Governor Wes Moore out there in Maryland. He was giving people jobs to become educators and work for the city. It was so many things going on in the world. And black people were so upset. And not just black people, it was a lot of Dems, a lot of, liberals, but at the same time, mostly it was the black people. I mean, have anybody heard from Pastor Jamal Bryant? We passed 40 days for this boycott. What happened? What did you get out of Target? But I'm going to show you guys why there's no longer any excitement in the black community. I'm going to show you why. And here we go. Let me show you guys why there's no excitement going on right now in the black community. Live in the building. I'm just going down, you ready? Where the fans at? Where the fans at? Where the fans at? Give me one time. This is where the excitement has gone to. You see how quickly they forget about all the problems in the world? Now you know what everybody's trying to do? They're trying to find fans online. They're worrying about learning the boots on the ground line dance that you're seeing going viral all over the world. And all it took is one thing to distract our community. And it took the boots on the ground to distract our community. And look at this diverse group we have here. You have the older black women, I don't know the person on the right. I watched this before. I don't know if it's a man or woman, but that's not my opinion. Then you got the white token lady right there in the middle, got a little bad knees, but she getting it with her fan. So I want to ask, where are your fans yet? Where them Democrat fans yet? Where are you? It took nothing but some fans to cool y'all down. And now the only person doing any excitement is Jasmine Crockett. She's the last person, and she's going to be next. She missed the memos. She hasn't went and ordered her fan yet. She hasn't got on the craze. But I don't want to get copyright, but we're going to play a little bit so y'all can see where them fans yet. Seems to be the thing today. Our culture forgot so quickly about all the negative things that were happening to their people in the society. They forgot about DEI. They forgot about Black history being moved from Air Force records or the Tuskegee Airmen. You guys have forgotten about everything. I don't see nothing on social media no more. I don't see none of the F around and find out community. I don't see none of that no more. And all it took was some fans to cool y'all down. And see, that's why it's so easy to distract the Black community. And the only reason I'm saying Black is because the Black people were the ones who were really going in on the Target boycotts. They were the ones going in on everything that was going on. But it's very unique to me that the moment this craze came out, everybody just trying to find their fans. They were all over Houston at the Houston Rodeo. Nobody's concerned. Nobody's saying where them federal jobs yet. Where them federal jobs? Nobody ain't talking about that. Y'all talking about put boots on the ground. Put your boots on the ground and go boycott. But what y'all doing? Y'all sitting here making money for the man. And you know what this really reminds me of? I was thinking about this. I was pondering on this because I knew today was going to be a little spicy. And so I was pondering on what I wanted to talk about when it came to what we're seeing today. And you know what this reminds me of when I see that boots on the ground and I see everybody buying fans and I see everybody buying cowboy boots getting ready? It reminds me when everybody was in the uproar about COVID-19. I remember when COVID first happened, everybody was just distraught. Everybody was pissed off. But you know what ended up happening? They came out with masks and Black people wanted to make masks fashionable. People started buying masks. They had bedazzling them out. They were changing colors to match their outfits. And we're so quick as a community and a society to forget about all the bad. All there takes is one trend that needs to be held. And right now that trend is boots on the ground. And y'all are not putting boots on the ground. Y'all going to buy fans, excuse me. Should be buying flags, American flags, make America great again. But anyway, that's all it took. All it took. This is all it took, y'all. Got black coffee over here. You got VIP. You got the dancing jewel. They got nicknames on the back of their shirts. They got ready to do this YouTube video. They're ready to put their boots on the ground and hit their fans. They no longer have concerns about their friends who lost their federal jobs. They're no longer concerned about how Doge discovered where their money was going. see how quickly we forget? Because the only people still talking about politics are people like myself and people who were really about this life when it first started. And I'm telling you, it's so easy to distract our culture. And this is all it is. Y'all, so y'all keep line dancing, keep putting your boots on the ground, and you keep showing your fans. Just remember, everything has cooled down. When it heats back up, don't come back with all that mess. We don't want to hear it. I'm telling you. We do not want to hear it. We do not want to talk about it. How quickly we forget. And I'm so glad that there's people out here who are really looking to make a change. There's people out here who really want to see things make a difference. And it's so, people are so easily distracted. So as I speak about people who want to make change, there's two gentlemen, and it's going to be a team of three. Stephen A. Smith and Bill O'Reilly had a very, very good conversation. And I want you guys to kind of listen to what Bill O'Reilly has to say of why he's an independent. And Stephen A. calls himself an independent, but we don't really know what he is. But Bill O'Reilly is going to show you what most conservatives are telling you, because the thing that a lot of people are getting distracted by is they're mistaking MAGA supporters for conservative and independent supporters. And Bill is going to show a good example of the good and the bad of President Trump. So here we go.
You say you're an independent. A lot of people say, you know what, Stephen A., when you going to ask that man when the last time he voted for a Democrat? Because they can't see you vote for a Democrat. When you say you're an independent, I like you said the independent thinker, but usually you just say independent. And what I'm saying is that, you know what, he says he's an independent. I'm going to believe him. I call myself an independent. Let's not throw skepticism this man's way. But could you see yourself voting for a Democrat? Have you voted for a Democrat in recent memory, Bill O'Reilly?
I voted for Swazi in November. The congressman in the 3rd district. He's a Democrat, and I know him well. I think he's an honest man. So I voted for him because the Republican didn't really advance anything in my eyes that overrode what I know about Swazi. Look, the people who try to pigeonhole me don't know anything about me. They don't know how I analyze the news. They don't understand my philosophy because they believe what they want to believe. And I'm used to it, but
let me interject. Let me interject. I get the part about they want to believe what they want to believe, but you can't say they don't really know you. I mean, Bill, you've been on the air for how many years? How many decades? We know you a little bit now. 50 years. So how they don't know you, Bill?
But it's a segmented audience. We had an enormous audience, and we do today. Millions and millions of people every day watch me in some capacity, and on Fox, record numbers, 16 years consecutive #1. But the audience that will devote time to listening to me is primarily traditional, not conservative. The far right, they don't like me at all. They attack me all the time. But it's a traditional audience because they know where I'm coming from. The liberal audience, we had about, because we did analytics when I was at Fox, it was 60% traditional, 20% non-aligned, and 20% liberal that would watch us on a daily basis. Now it's 95% conservative traditional at Fox. They've lost that. So we know that most liberals, they don't want to listen to O'Reilly, and they believe what they want to believe. But here's an interesting point for you. When I do shows like Jon Stewart, there's an enormous audience on the left for those shows, and they don't come out of it hating me. In fact, my last appearance on David Letterman, I got a standing O for Letterman, who did his best to try to make me look foolish. A standing O, it shocked him. So I think that I have a broad.
So what you're going to see throughout this, I'm not going to play all 28 minutes, but I do want you guys to start hearing some of his some of the things he says, and it really lined up with what I try to explain to people. A lot of people look at us, people who voted for President Trump, as that we believe or we support everything that's going on. And that's not true. You can be a conservative or you can be a free thinker, because as Bill O'Reilly says, an independent thinker, which I think a lot of people are afraid of people who now think for themselves, because we all have been so we all been so what's the word I want to use for this? We all been so programmed to think a certain way if you're a certain race, or to think a certain way if you're raised a certain way, to think a certain way if you brought up in a certain environment. We all have been programmed to think a certain way. And once you become a free thinker and you start to think for yourself, you could vote for both sides of the house. You can see great Democrat candidates, and you can see great Republican candidates. And like Bill said, he did. He just voted for someone who was Democrat, and they actually won because he felt that he was a good guy. He felt that he was doing things that were going to be good for the people. I mean, we all see it all the time. And that's what happens when you get out of your box. Just because someone supports President Trump doesn't mean they support everything. But no one ever wants to have a conversation about everything. And Bill is going to actually break that down for us when Stephen A asks us that question.
Broader appeal, but I agree with you that a lot of people think that I'm some kind of conservative ideologue.
Who dislikes you more, the left or the extreme left or the extreme right?
No, the left, for sure.
Okay.
Because I have very little tolerance for the woke people. The extreme right is much narrower. It's a much more narrow crew than the left. The left has really made inroads in this country, and they control the Democratic Party, the far left does at this point, whereas the right has not done that. You know, Donald Trump's not an ideologue. He couldn't give you any kind of verse about the Republican Party or ideology. He's more of a deal maker. But his...
And do you guys notice that people who really follow politics, they don't have any expectation of President Trump being a politician? Only people who have not educated themselves would look and view and have expectations of him being a politician. President Trump is a deal maker. He's a person who has been making deals his whole life, and that's all he knows how to do. And we're at a point in time in America where we need that. We need someone who's willing to gamble, who's willing to say, hey, I'll put tariffs on everything. You know what? Double or nothing. We'll keep rolling the dice because we are the prominent power. And the only way to prove that is to show other people that they need us.
Audience is MAGA. And so he plays to that audience.
You know, when we think about, this Sunday, Westbury, New York, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have the Three Americans Live event. Myself, you, and the one and only Chris Cuomo. You see the promo right there. Yes, I have been promoting it every single day, every single show, Bill O'Reilly, as I've been instructed by someone who will remain nameless, but is sitting right in front of me. The point that I'm saying, Bill, is this. When we see this event coming up, what do you believe? And what would you articulate to the audience that we're going to give them that they haven't seen before?
Excellent question. So I did this as an experiment to see if we could meld 3 different audiences into one enjoyable afternoon. And I'm not sure whether we're going to succeed or not. We'll succeed as far as capacity in the theater. We sold a lot of tickets. But will the audiences get along? Will there be an equal amount of different thinkers? I don't know. But I did it because I am tired of the choir. One of the reasons that you are successful both in sports and now you're making a move into policy is because people don't know what you're going to say.
And Bill is about to hit on a very important part. And that's why I wanted to get my voice out there. A lot of people get confused about the views and the likes and the comments. But it's the most important thing is who gets to hear your voice, who gets to hear a different side, because everything that we're getting fed from social media, it kind of goes with what you're thinking at that time, or how you're feeling at that time, or what your life has been about at that time. But when you are able to sit down with people who think for themselves and they start to think freely, you get to see other people who open up your thought process, and that's what Bill is talking about. He's going to go into talking about how, we know Trump goes and he has to incite the MAGA people, because those people, they're radical about him. They're all about it. But also the conservative voters who voted for President Trump also knows that half of that stuff won't happen, but the things that we do want to happen are happening. People who didn't want men and women's sports, people who only wanted to have two genders, like those are the things that people care about. We all know last week that he signed the order to try to dismantle the education system. If you guys didn't know, the education system hasn't changed its percentages since 1979. We haven't improved in the education system. And when they say dismantling the education system, what they're actually doing is going to try to do the same thing they did with the abortion. They want to give education back to the state. They want to let each state develop their own education, how they're going to do things, what works best for that state. Standard, and, money going directly to the state and not all this federal funding and things that people will need. And I think it's something that is very good. I feel that when you go from state to state too, you can then specialize in certain trade schools, because you think about certain states like Ohio or Pennsylvania, very blue collar states where people work in factories where they work with their hands. Teaching young men and women to do that early at the age of 10 or 11 instead of doing home ec, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, like they're going to have other opportunities. So I would highly encourage people to really look into what dismantling the education department is going to actually do, and see who already had control under certain things that you think you're going to lose. Like, the lunches and stuff like that stuff was on the agriculture. It had nothing to do with the Department of Education. With that being said, it's all the fear that they put out there. So I would highly encourage people to really look at the changes that they're attempting to do, and we got to have everybody vote on it.
You say it with passion. And so that unpredictability about Stephen A. Smith attracts an audience. Same thing with me. Cuomo a little bit more doctrinaire left, although he's changed a little bit. When you say the one and only Chris Cuomo, I almost applaud it. We really don't need another one.
To get you guys,
but he's there.
And
a mindset, then the person sitting next to you in the whatever we do is great.
And all of this other stuff. Yes, I've been reading up on it, Bill, by the way. I've been reading up on it. And you have people that had an attitude, and I said, that man, humble yourself. The man been covering politics because you are lamenting the fact that we can't have reasonable, sensible, and respectful discourse. And you believe that's something that will transpire this weekend. To that, you say what?
I don't want tribalism in this country. Tribalism is a weakness, not a strength. I don't like the tribes. So about 10 years ago, I went to a concert, the Isley Brothers and Frankie Mays and Time, all black audience at Jones Beach. Okay.
Yep.
I walk in, I'm the only white guy in a place, except for the security guards.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
My date goes, she's looking at me. She goes, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" I said, "This is going to be great." So I was sitting right down front. And so I walked down to the seats. Everybody sees me. It's an outdoor venue. And half the crowd knew it was me. And I'm waving. Everybody's waving at me. And everybody want pictures with me. And that's the America that I like. Now, they don't.
And what he's describing is what I tell everybody you see at sporting events. When you go to a sporting event, it's very rare to experience racism. At sports, you really get to see what the American dream would look like. Everybody together, rooting either for or against their teams. Everybody having drinks, everybody having food. You go to the tailgate before the game, everybody's offering you free food, everybody's partying, everybody's having a good time, and everybody goes into the stadium or the arena and enjoy the game. that 3.5 to 4 hour span, if we go into overtime, it's like literally what people would want life to look like. And when him describing that, he was the only white person at this Ronald Isley concert with some other people, but he felt comfortable because that's what America looks like to him. He's not hated. He's not, and that's what I want to tell a lot of you people, that's why I don't care about what people say in the comments, because those people don't even know me. So you're just making a comment off of a 30-second or a 2-minute clip that you're watching. And if that's what you get out of that, I can just imagine what people get from you on a day-to-day basis. So I always tell people is just continue to live your truth and be who you are, and everything else will work itself out.
Agree. I'm sure that most people at the concert, and particularly Ronald Isley, don't agree with my point of view about life, but it was good natured. And that's what I want to get back to. That's why I'm doing this show. It's my production company, as you know, and I hope we're treating you well.
You are. You wrote it all. Steve Bannon was on Cuomo on News Nation and said that Trump will run again in 2028 and win. When pressed by Cuomo that Trump is termed out, Bannon said the team is developing ways to elect Trump a third time. You wrote it off. I did not take kindly to that, Bill O'Reilly. I want you to explain yourself as to why you wrote it off, man.
Because in the Constitution, it says you can't do it. What is Bannon going to do? Have a vote at 2/3 of the states to overturn the constitutional amendment? Look at the map. You're not going to get 2/3 of the states to do that. It's ridiculous. It's what they always do. All right. You have to understand, if you read The United States of Trump, which is by far the best book ever written about Donald Trump by me, your humble correspondent, it's all about provocation. It's all about putting your opposition off balance, getting them annoyed, getting them emotional. And that's what these MAGA people do. Bannon knows there's no way that Donald Trump's going to run for a third term. Trump knows it. Everybody knows.
But do y'all see the difference when you have emotional intelligence? Bill O'Reilly is literally sitting here saying, Stephen A was pissed. I watched the episode. Stephen A was pissed. But did you hear Bill O'Reilly? It can't be done. It pretty much will take a miracle for that to happen. So why would I get myself all strung out, all stressed out about a topic that will never happen? And that's what has happened. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of this show. All these people, all the Democrats, all the liberals, they were so just emotional responses to everything that he was signing, everything that was happening, people losing their jobs. Everybody was so emotionally invested. But then the moment that they forget about it and they, where them fans yet? Where them fans? It took one thing to distract that community, and then they're not even worried about it no more. I haven't heard Pastor Bryant talk about the Target boycott again. And that's all it takes. It's because some people are so emotional that they react emotional when they hear stuff. And as he said, these people, and he breaks them down in separate categories. Free thinkers, independent people, conservatives, we're not MAGA. We're not here to incite you about the things that President Trump is doing. We're here to give you the reality of what is going on. And I think a lot of people don't like the reality of what is going on. And it's like they want to live in this world that doesn't exist. But like he said, why do I get myself all up? That's never going to happen.
But they just throw the hand grenade out, hoping that some nitwit on CNN will get upset and rant and rave. This is a hobby for them. They enjoy this. Okay.
But what does it do for them?
It's
Could
like
you
a
speak to that?
in
Like,
the
for example,
dugout.
if somebody on CNN or MSNBC goes off, and they provoke somebody to do that, what is the fallout from it in the eyes of a Trump, a Bannon, etc.?
There isn't any. Those people aren't going to vote for him anyway. So they don't have any downside to it. It's like a heckler in the dugout or on the bench in a basketball game or football game. You try to throw your opposition off balance. You try to confuse them by throwing in all of this stuff.
So as you can see, this is a great interview. I would highly recommend you guys go watch it, the whole thing, because he actually goes a little bit more in depth as well of talking about the things that he likes that are currently going on in the presidency. And he talks about a lot. But the biggest thing that you're going to notice is that he talks about people need to know what's going on. And what I mean by what's going on, it's about stop getting so emotionally invested in things that you know aren't going to happen. That's the biggest thing for me. When I go on here, I try to educate people on like, hey, this can't happen. Just because he signed an executive order, I kept telling people it has to go through judges. It has to go through all these steps. So you're getting upset about an unfinished goal that hasn't even got there yet, just because someone signed a piece of paper. You have to make it make sense. And the person who really has taken this on has been your very own Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett continues to incite the Democrats, incite the liberals. She's literally doing what everybody accused President Trump of doing with the January 6 people. And you know, the great thing about conservative people, we definitely keep those receipts. And here you go.
Progressive Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett appears to be desperately trying to capture her party spotlight, even if it means turning up the rhetoric against Republicans. It's a far cry from her comments before the election when she swore that Democrats would never, ever do this.
Democrats have never endorsed political violence, but he will go to a rally and he will endorse it. This is the equivalent of playing with a loaded gun and then it backfiring on you.
Just a few months later, here she is appearing to egg on some of the agitators against Elon Musk.
I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes, we are fighting for our country. We're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for our freedoms. And when I say fighting, I'm saying that figuratively. Obviously, everything that I am promoting is nonviolent.
And now she claims Democrats need to punch their opponents.
How do you win elections in Texas as a Democrat? What do you do?
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. You know, I think, and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right?
I mean, Steve, like, to just choose the verb punch, and then knock over the head. It's interesting language choice.
Of course. And, you know, but you can see that this, for her, is working, right? This kind of amping it up and some of the comments we're seeing, and it gets more and more over the top, lower and lower, frankly. But this is what they seem to want in the Democratic Party now. They want this kind of rhetoric.
And I thought at one time, everybody was following Michelle Obama's advice from the Democrat Party. When they go low, we go higher. Boy, how quickly they forgot about that saying, right? They go low, Crockett just goes lower. And the thing she tried to do, she's like, oh, you know, not fighting, like not figuratively, but it doesn't matter because all it takes is enough people to get excited about something. That's what happened with January 6th. Not every MAGA person wanted to do what happened, but those few who wanted to, the little excitement that they got, it helped them go through with it. We're seeing people right now vandalize Tesla's charging and people vandalizing vehicles, and you're seeing people putting their feces on charging. You're seeing all types of stuff. And all she's doing is exciting these things. And on the 29th, we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how people are taking the things that you're saying.
They want this kind of attitude. I don't think it's helping them at all, but it's helping lift the profile of people like Jasmine Crockett.
It's a great point because some Democrats say they want to fight. It may be a figurative fight, but she's given them maybe a literal one. I don't know. You know, Kennedy, there was this moment of Jasmine Crockett. I think this is probably the most shameful bite we're going to play. Listen to how she talks about Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, who I would remind everyone is in a wheelchair.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot mess.
So just imagine what she would have said if he had a different form of disability. What type of joke she would have made if he had Parkinson's and he was shaking? Or what type of, we don't, she went directly to his disability. And this is what y'all want to represent the Democrat Party? This is what y'all looking for? I hate that she's the representative for Texas. She ain't even from Texas. But this is what you guys want. You want somebody who is willing to go as low as insulting somebody's disability? But you guys are going to overlook that, and it'll be something that President Trump said, grab him by the, whatever that saying was he said years ago. Everybody will go backwards, but no one wants to hold this young lady accountable. And she's getting exactly what she wants, the publicity. Jasmine Crockett is making more money being famous with what she's doing right now than she's probably made sitting in that seat. But this is who y'all want to represent you guys.
Honey, yes.
I don't know what her intent was with that, but I find that to be a disgrace.
No, she's trying to demean the governor in order to score cheap political points. She's an attention whore, and it's annoying. So when you are void of ideas, you ramp up the rhetoric. I mean, how incredible would she be if she actually laid out an economic plan for the people in Texas, for her specific constituents, and for families across the country? She would be applauded. She would be celebrated. But instead, she's kind of at the bottom of the barrel. I don't like it when people in either party do it. She thinks she's doing it for cheap points, but it's not grounded in political philosophy, and I don't have a ton of respect for her.
It's interesting you bring up the ideology, political philosophy, and legislative ideas. She even admits she doesn't have those. Listen. I'm listening, I swear. Okay, we don't have it, Carly, but I have it in front of me.
Yeah.
So she says this. She says on a Lone Star Politics interview, I should probably be a better politician and tell you, yes, we've got all this amazing legislation, and I can absolutely imagine Donald Trump signing it into law. Not going to lie, I think right now it's about preserving our basics and getting back to some norms. She goes on, no ideas, but she wants to preserve.
She says right now, I could tell.
So as you can see, this is just another one of Jasmine Crockett's going off so that other people can see, and it's embarrassing. And this is who you guys continue to let speak for you. You continue to let her be your form of representation for the Democrat Party. And it's ugly. It's not a good look. It is not a good look. And they don't have nothing to run on. You know why? Because Harris gave them nothing to run on. And like I keep telling anyone who wants to see something better than President Trump, you guys need to start building that person right now. Y'all better go talk to AI or something and build a perfect Democrat candidate. You better start building now, because if not, there's a young man by the name of J.D. Vance that's going to be ready to take the next 4 years. And Vivek Ramaswamy might take 4 to 8 after he wins Ohio. So just something to think about. You guys can't stop being okay with who's representing you, because it's just not a good look. It is not a good look. So as we're talking about, things that aren't a good look, we're going to transition over. We're going to get out of the politics. We're going to get into some stuff that, might matter to other people outside of politics. And we're going to kind of go through this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Anton Daniels, but he does pretty much a panel 4 nights out of 5. He does a Monday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, and a Friday. But the Monday night is ran by Q. and Q picks people for the panel, and they talk about certain topics. And as you guys know from the intro of today's episode, we're going to be seeing their thoughts on the father who came to pick up his son who was dressed as a woman for prom. And you're going to hear some people's opinions. I'm going to give you a little bit of mine, but I love for people to hear other people's thought process and how they look at things, because this is not just me talking. I want you guys to hear from everyone. And this panel does a good job at that. Q does a good job at that as well. So let's see what they're talking about here.
Guys, did anybody see the video that kind of went viral with the husband that went to the prom with his son dressed as a woman, a girl?
I saw it. It was disgusting.
I just just want to say yes or no. Everybody, did anybody see it?
I didn't see it.
It's okay. Okay, so we gonna play this clip. Okay, that went viral. It's a little iceberg, and we're gonna talk about it. If you want to.
My husband surprised his son by taking him to the prom.
Don't mess up that makeup, Jasmine.
Before you hear their review, I don't know where my boy got his suit from. About old player. Old players do not wear anything fitted. You could tell he was probably born in 1970. He ain't wearing nothing fitted. But my boy said he clean. Ooh, don't do it to him with the BMW. Yeah, his son taller than him.
Yeah. So, does anybody want to comment on that? Did he? I was about to call him she. That's crazy. Did he look pretty to you guys?
No, he looked a mess.
Why do you look a mess?
Definitely look different. He looked like he's trying to be Gay Prince or something with the dress schmess shoot. I don't know. It was a suit and then it was a dress. No, there was I didn't like it at all. The whole no.
Definitely different. When I first saw it, I thought that was the dad standing there, but that was his son as a transgender, I guess. And I agree with that. I'm happy about that. Like, you can't control your kids, but you can love them. And if he was there and he felt lonely and, his dad being there meant that much to him, I think it was a beautiful thing to do for his child,
Sometimes you gotta tell your kids no. Sometimes you gotta
can love them if they feel lonely. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, but why go to the you
no.
Be lonely? When I didn't know that parents could go to the prom with their kids. I didn't know that was a thing.
I feel like it's supposed to be for your peers, not supposed to be like, an adult experience. And then it's also, I don't agree. I feel like it's confusing. Like, as a father, he's supposed to be leading his son and teaching him the way. So the fact that you would publicly choose prom night to make this big, thing, and then the entire family full of women behind him is like cheering it on. And I'm just like, you're literally failing him. Like, as a dad, the fact, like, he literally looks like he's hiding tears behind his glasses. Like, he can't break out a smile. He's not hyping him up in the dress. It's like he's here because he was made to support him based off of what the females in the family believe in. But I feel like he's absolutely failing his son, and this is going to have long-term detrimental effects on him in the future.
The whole family is
So before they get too deep into their reactions to it, my opinion is this. As a father, and I only can speak from my experiences, as a father, you should always be there for your children. Supporting your children, in my opinion, does not mean that you're agreeing with their lifestyle. I choose to love you unconditionally as a father, but I'm going to continue to tell you if I feel something is wrong. But that doesn't stop me from loving you. That doesn't stop me from supporting you. And that doesn't stop me from being a father. just like the Bible, but they're going to talk about the Bible a lot in this reaction. The Bible also tells us to honor thy father and our mother. At the end of the day, if that young man wants his father in his life, we should be okay with that father supporting his son. With that being said, we don't know what type of conversation that father had that night. This probably was the first time he was able to support him, but also allow him an opportunity to speak to him and speak life into him. Because there are people who change their lifestyle. There are people who God is able to deliver and do certain things with. You're going to hear a lot of different opinions from this panel. With that being said, in my own opinion, I feel that you should always support your children. That doesn't mean you support their lifestyle. It's just like a person, perfect example that I'm going to give. It's just like giving a homeless person $20. We know that homeless person might go spend it on drugs or alcohol, but that's not my responsibility anymore. I gave them $20 because they said they were looking for money to get a room for the night. That's what they said on their sign. I gave that $20 out of a good gesture. After I leave and drive off, if that homeless man or woman chooses to go get high off that $20, that's no longer my concern. I did what was best for that person. And that's the same thing with a child who chooses to live an alternative lifestyle. I can preach to that child every day what I feel is the correct way, what God says is the correct way to live. With that being said, I shouldn't stop loving that child or being around that child. That doesn't mean I condone their behavior. And it's funny to me how people think about it, because you're going to hear a lot in this reaction of this video. But with that being said, that's my viewpoint on it. Some people might agree, some might don't. I'm sure you guys will have some good comments to put in the comments once you watch it back, once I clip this up. With that being said, as a father, I'm going to always support my children, regardless of their lifestyle. Doesn't mean I support the lifestyle. Listen up. Doesn't mean I support the lifestyle. I support my child. And the more I can be around my child to give them the right guidance, that's all I can do. Because at the end of the day, God sees what you do. If you abandon your child and just let them go, that's not something I think is going to be honored. Even the prodigal son, when you read that story about the son, when he finally comes back to his father and his father runs to him, for his father to be able to run to him, every day his father expected his son to come back home. And see, we miss those little tidbits as we're reading, but that means every day that father was outside waiting to see if his son was going to return. He didn't know when his son was going to return. There wasn't no cell phones back in the biblical time. There wasn't no messengers. His son made a decision to come back. And when his dad seen his son coming, he ran to his son. So that means every day he was looking for him. You know why? Because he probably prayed to God that his son returns and returns safely. So it's the same thing that we should do for our children. We should pray for them daily and hope that they return back to what's right.
Depraved. They're all depraved, clapping and cheering that on. He's a weak man. That's why his son was looking like that. And Anton, I know we joke. Anton teased me last show about how I have a lot of gay friends. They would not have approved of that. He shouldn't even felt comfortable wearing that wig, full face of makeup in front of the father, and then the father's going to stamp it and go to the prom. And like y'all said, what parent even goes to the prom? Then you go into the prom with your son in a dress. That's why he looking like that. Like he shouldn't even feel comfortable to even put that ensemble on in front of his father. But that lets me know who runs that household, because it's not the father. Like, that was bananas.
Okay. Go ahead, Kamaya.
I'm gonna just say this. I'll give credit where credit is due. At least the father is there supporting something, at least, I will say that much. As far as the dress and baby, that was just too much for me. I I can't. I don't know. I don't even have the words for it, but I will give credit where credit is due. Dad decided to be there, whether he agrees with it or not. A lot of fathers nowadays can't even really say that they even know their child.
But you feel like it's better that he would encourage the mental illness of him having a gender identity crisis instead of provide his child for, again, he can't even 100% confidently, escort him to the prom or whatever he's doing. Like, he can't even do it confidently, which shows that I don't understand the point of like giving him a little bit of a cookie for support. Like, he shouldn't be supporting that. Even if you're comparing him to fathers that don't know their children, compare him to fathers that do know their children. Most fathers that do know their children would not support that.
So what is he supposed to do exactly?
Not.
And it's very easy to say what you would do when you're not in a situation. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback everything that went wrong in the game Sunday night. But if you're not in that situation, you won't know. You won't know.
Supposed to not escort his son to the prom. He wouldn't be in pictures. I'm not showing.
It's irrelevant. He's not doing that for you. He's doing that for his son. And this is a lot of times the problem with these kids deleting themselves. Instead of you caring about the mental health of that kid, meaning he probably has the worst life of all of us combined. Every time he goes outside, 1 second, every time he goes outside, somebody calls him. Every time he takes a picture, there's y'all talking shit about him. And it's fair. You guys can do whatever you want. That job is actually making sure that this kid is okay. That kid is grown. He's not a child. He's a grown man. So you have to show. So is that a 7-year-old?
A senior in high school is a teenager, and your job as a parent is to guide your child and raise them up with the correct values. So no,
already done.
You can't compare one. He didn't know he didn't.
Don't jump, Patty. One mic.
He did better not being a father, because him being there, look at what happened. And 1.2 million people saw it on X, and they was all laughing at him. So if you talk about
there's the
people
point.
that was making fun, I was making fun of it. I was making fun of it.
And you can do it, but that's why the father is there, because of people like you making fun of the kids. Unless you are Trunks from the future, you can go to the past and re-engineer whatever that kid became. He became that person. He became Magic Johnson's son. If you love your kid, what do you do? If that kid becomes Magic Johnson's son, do you abandon him?
I'll say this much.
So you abandon the kid because he became like this?
You don't support
that.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna say this much.
Then I failed, and I haven't done. Parent, if you literally do the direct opposite of what I raised you to do and believe in. Now we're going to, obviously we don't know 100%. We're going to assume he was raised under the standard values of what we all believe.
Even that really doesn't make sense. There's great parents out here who kids just do whatever they want. They become what the parent didn't raise them to be. What about kids who are coming from a 2-parent household and now they're addicted to pills and they got hooked on fentanyl and they starting to experiment with drugs and get hooked on a certain substance? That has nothing to do with parenting. We fail to realize that everybody at the end of the day will make their own decisions. I don't care how great of a father or mother you are, your child will make mistakes and they will make their own decisions. With that being said, as parents, we are there to support, protect, and provide guidance. See, this is what I was talking about previously on one of my videos. No, it was on the grown folks business, because I know somebody was like, that's not what the scripture said. I didn't say that's what the scripture said. I'm just saying that we use the word raise our child instead of train up our child. So you could train a person. Perfect example. People go through people who really love guns and want to protect themselves, they go through a course and they're running, they're shooting at targets and they're bending down, they're reloading. We don't know if that person is going to remember all those skills and be able to do all those movements when they get into a real life scenario. Because that fight or flight kick in, your heightened awareness kicks in, the fear of killing someone who's real that's not a target. See, we don't train real. And it's a gentleman who does a video. I'm gonna have to find it. My homeboy Jones, shout out Jones, man. Teliado. Shout out Jones. Jones showed me a video of this gentleman who was just talking about how when people train with weapons, they don't really train correctly. They train for worst case scenario instead of training how to use the weapon when it needs to be used. But that's neither here or there. We'll continue.
Believe in. So for you to do the opposite of that, no, I'm not gonna encourage that.
I don't think we can do that.
We don't even know if that father was even there his entire life. We don't even know if he was raised by a single mother, which promoted this type of behavior to begin with, and if they had just gotten back into conversations of the father being in that child's life. We need to remember that our community is not the best community to begin with. We're the first community to always criticize and ridicule and pass judgment on people from a distance. We're literally outside looking in. So we don't know what that child's life was coming up, as Fatty was saying, but we're always the first ones to say something negative about someone else's life that we know nothing about. Now, the other thing is when it comes to how we're raising our children, yes, we are supposed to hold this standard because as Black people, we are that community that stands in front of a lot of people, all the time. We're always the first ones to get looked at a certain way, whether it's our own culture or other people's culture. But the thing is, we are not actually creating a culture where we hold that standard that we are ridiculing others about. We are literally not being those people all the time. So if we can go out and say, yes, we're against transgender and all of this other things, are we against fornication? Are we against, having children out of wedlock? Are we against all of these other things? Are we against, being alcoholics or drug addicts? Or are we actually those people that are generational curse breakers? Or are we just sitting here saying this is something that we are supposed to be doing, but we are all not holding that standard? I know, as for me, I follow God and I follow what the word says, and I try to do the best that I can to implement that in my life. But I know there's a lot of us that don't even acknowledge the Bible or acknowledge how we're really supposed to be walking. So I know
you have to be lying.
In that.
You are absolutely, either you are misguided or you got to be lying right now, because there's no way in the world that you could listen. I'm cool with people having differences of opinions, but there's no way that you can sit here and tell me that you actually follow and believe in the Bible, but yet you think that this is okay.
No. Now this is the thing. I'm not saying that this is okay. What I'm saying is that we need to be able to separate the action that we don't like from the people. Like these are actions that are not okay. Like, of course, I would never want my son to be in a dress going to the prom or anything like that. That's nothing that I would actually say, yes, go ahead and do that.
From the people, if the people are the ones that are perpetuating the actions. The people are you don't separate them. You don't say, well, he's a person, but he's a murderer, but we need to separate his actions from the person. Oh, he killed somebody. He is the person that is perpetuating whatever crime he's being accused of.
So then if you say that, then that means that every single situation would be the exact same, whether like when you're killing someone. So if someone is actually killing someone in defense compared to someone just killing it because it was premeditated and they just intentionally wanted to take away their life, and saying that you're saying that because it's the same action.
I think that you're smart enough to understand that the context matters. If a person is defending themselves versus actually having a premeditated murder, it's a much different action.
But like you said, they're still a murderer.
They're not a murderer.
Murder is there's no reason for it. When there's a reason behind it, it's not the murder anymore. It's a killing, so it doesn't go against the body
Correct.
law.
So you can't just say a person is a murderer because a life is taken. You can't say that. If I'm working heavy machinery on a job and then the cable snaps and you die because you were doing another job that was just as dangerous and you are the worst person that caught the worst end of it, am I a murderer? Because somebody got killed as a result of me, making a mistake operating the machinery, or somebody made a mistake and didn't tie the cable right, are they a murderer?
All right. So I'm not a biblical scholar, but there are certain things that I remember as a kid growing up, and as you get older, you start to read. And the young lady said something very important, because they went to the extreme of like a murderer. Even with that, I think Jesus can separate the sin from the sinner. And what made me think about that is we all remember, well, if you're familiar with the Bible, we all remember when Jesus went into the temple and kicked over the table because the tax collectors was. But do we remember the young man Zacchaeus, or Zacharias is his name? So let me read something to you guys. This is from Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10. It says, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. I think it's Zacharias, so I want to say it right. It's Zacharias. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacharias, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mumber or mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. But Zacharias stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I had cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. So right there, Jesus was able to separate the sinner, because we all know back in those days, tax collectors were robbing people. They were taking more taxes than they needed to. They were taking from the poor just to get richer, just like the tax collectors still do today. But anyway, with that being said, reading that parable shows you that Jesus can separate the sin from the sinner. And the biggest thing is, once you as an individual accepts your wrong and repent, as the Bible says, it allows Jesus to give you new salvation. Like Zacharias already knew what he was doing was wrong. Well, he either he knew what he was doing was wrong, or he felt the conviction of his wrong doing once he got in the presence of Jesus. And I think that's one of the things that people have to remember. And like I said, I could be wrong. I'm sure somebody in the comments will correct me. I'm not saying I'm a bishop, I'm a apostle, a pastor, none of that. I'm just reading the word and taking what I get from the word. And that's another thing we have to understand, is that everybody's perception of the Bible is going to be different. when you start to read the New Testament on, everybody had a different little viewpoint of what they seen when Jesus went before Jesus went to the cross. Everybody had the same similar parables and stories, but there was always little tweaks here and there because everybody's perception is different. So when I read that there was a tax collector who was a sinner who knew that he was taking money and possibly did wrong. He repented, and Jesus said that he was able to receive salvation. So this young man who is dealing with what he's dealing with has the same opportunity. And that's why I feel you can separate the sin from the sinner. But again, I'm just a messenger. That's it.
Because somebody else died, or does the context matter?
Correct. The context does matter, but when it comes to someone defending themselves and killing someone where you actually physical, I would see that as still a murder because they go to court for
No,
like
you wouldn't go to court if you defend if somebody breaks in your home and they have a gun and they're trying to kill you and you shoot to defend yourself.
So I'm gonna fast forward this because some of this don't really make sense. I just kind of want you guys to hear their opinion.
You're not going to go to prison.
Deal with compared to just pointing out everybody else's sin. That's what I'm really trying to do.
You didn't do nothing wrong, and you shouldn't succumb to peer pressure. Respectfully,
It's not
1 second. All of y'all love sinners. All of y'all in some point of your life, you showed love for somebody that was committing a bunch of sins, and you still there's no one worse than you love them. Either they like whatever they did, you were loving a sinner, and you kept that way, and you probably talked with him. Y'all are not consistent. The Bible doesn't say that you actually shouldn't pass judgment to people. You should love them, have empathy for them. Love, like that's what the man is doing to that kid. If the Bible says, 1 second, if the Bible says, don't pass judgment, be humble, empathize to these people because you can walk on their shoes. What this man is doing is literally following the Bible. He knows his kid is a sinner. No. Listen.
The Bible
Let me finish and then correct me. Let me finish and then correct me. Let me finish and then correct me. Wasn't Jesus literally on the cross showing love to other sinners that were literally next to him? Wasn't he actually showing empathy towards them? Right? So why can y'all go ahead and have empathy for people that are sinning left and right, including your president, grab them by the pussy and do a bunch of bullshit that we're not even going to talk about, but judging judging this person, not knowing if he's a good kid, if he's a bad kid, if he's a good brother, if he's a good son.
Don't act like it was just a mistake or somebody just was driving by recording or something like this. This is what they're promoting. Okay, I'm asking you, do you know the context?
This is what I want you guys to hear because they're now going to start talking about like them posting things on social media and the reactions.
What context and the stories that happened prior to that and why he said that?
You talking about when
all right, Hair Beast. So listen, the point that I'm making is this, is that it's nothing wrong with dealing with sin accordingly and forgiving, right? Having empathy. And I said this in the beginning of the conversation. Is having empathy or sympathy or dealing with it accordingly that's an entirely separate issue. But the fact that we are justifying this shit and saying that it's okay, listen, fam, this is a cultural norm, number one. Number two, they put this out there for us to see, to influence and impact what it is that we think and what we justify as right and wrong. Don't sit here and tell me not to judge when they put it out there for you to be influenced by. They put this out there. So don't act like it was just a mistake or somebody just was driving by recording or something like this. This is what they're promoting. This is what they're justifying. This is what they're trying to influence other people by.
And my thought process here when I heard this part is that I think sometimes as we get older, we forget that these younger people now, social media is all they know. Like, it's so funny because we were watching American Idol the other night, and I was like, man, everybody has a recording of themselves. Like, it seemed like parents were always recording and have videos and pictures and stuff like that. And I think it's just an example that today's society feels everything is appropriate for social media. I really don't think people post things. Certain things are for attention. I know that. I'm not, blinded by that. I know certain people are putting certain things up because they want certain attention. Just like we all are content creators and we put things up and we want to hear your comments and your thoughts about it. That's why we put it up. And Q goes on to say that too about, Anton's a content creator. But anybody can be a content creator. Anybody who puts their opinion on something, who posts something and give their opinion, they're a content creator, regardless of how big or how small their platform may be. They're giving their opinion. With that being said, I really feel in today's society, everybody feels everything is okay to put on social media. Because what is the first thing people do? Even in bad things, when people getting arrested or somebody's getting beat by the cops, people have their phones out. They're recording just to post it. Like that's what the world has become. So not everybody who posts things really wants you to judge them. I think some people post things because that's what they do. It's just I don't know. Like I don't know if that even makes sense to like the common person, but like I feel sometimes as we get older, we don't like look back at like what we would have did. Like I wish back in the day we had social media. I mean, some kids make it in sports now because of social media. What if I could have got my film out there to millions of people by just posting a video? One viral video can get a kid a full scholarship. Like, so think about the power of social media. We only look at it from the negative standpoint, but the positive standpoint can be powerful too. There's people who've been helped. There's people who have been given donations because their story was seen. That doesn't condone the behavior of the young man, but also I can't just say somebody's putting something up to get attention or to spread a lifestyle. Like, we don't know that. We can't assume that.
That's why it's called influencers. That's what they're trying to become. And so it's not judging, it's giving my opinion and evaluating it accordingly. If somebody kills somebody and I say that motherfucker is a murderer, that's not judging them. That's calling them exactly what they are. If somebody is a homosexual and I say that they're gay, that's not judging them. That's calling it exactly what it is. So listen, y'all better stop trying to justify this nonsense. I think that the majority of these dudes, the majority of these sons are the way that they are because of the women that are raising them. 100%.
But that's what I'm saying though, Anton. Like this, it's giving that the man was not there or.
So as you see, you guys, I'll link this whole video into the description. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it is a very long review. They did it for about a little bit over an hour. They discussed this part about the prom and the gentleman taking his son to the prom and how he was dressed. Very long, but I will share that for you guys. With that being said, you see they're going to start talking about fathers, and I feel like all that stuff is inaccurate. You can raise your child to what you feel is the perfect way to raise them, and they can choose a lifestyle outside of what they see. I tell people all the time, I grew up in a 2-parent household and I still got a divorce. I seen a perfect Brady Bunch family, and my dad and mom loved each other, never fought, never drank, never smoked, never cursed in front of us, none of that. And I still chose to do what I chose to do growing up and going through my marriage. So it's just one of those things. It's hard to say. It's hard to put everything into like a blanket response. People, it's just easier to blame fathers, to be honest with you. And then you blame a mother who has a father who's not present, and then you think it's her fault that her son turns out gay or whatnot. Like that stuff to me, that's too blanket of a statement. Because I know a lot of single mothers who raise their son, and their son is doing just fine. Their sons are married, so I guess it's touche. But I would love to hear your guys' comments. Again, I know I'll probably get more comments once I break this down and clip it up. But stay tuned. And last but not least, we're gonna actually end this thing off on something positive. We're going to send this thing out on something positive. And I don't know if anybody who follows this knows that I'm a huge Shedeur Sanders fan. I'm a huge well-off media fan. I love the Sanders family. I became a Colorado fan because of them. But right now, their boy is getting a lot of attention. And when I mean their boy, I mean their boy Cam Ward. Cam Ward has the same quarterback coach as Shedeur does. So I'm gonna go through some quick highlights and give my opinion on what I think about Cam Ward.
What's up? And now we'll really turn it on. See what that footwork looks like in comparison to what we did. That's a bit more like it, right?
Now we're throwing slants,
He threw it right on the face mask.
Yep. I love watching him on those RPO throws, man. That ball comes out.
There
it is.
There's the hands.
And then you also saw the sidearm delivery. But that is the transition we talked about, the shortstop.
God, he's got quick hands, man.
Really does. So give us a sense of how that comes into play, right, in the landscape of an NFL game and an NFL play.
You want to get the ball in your playmaker's hands as fast as possible. As soon as you make that decision, I'm pulling the ball, I'm not handing it off, how quickly can you transition to get the ball out? Because every delay in you getting him the ball closes distance with the defender. So as soon as I get that on him, that's why with Tua, we talked about him being like a blackjack dealer, how quick his hands were with the RPO game.
Everything minus the
you see them run a lot of that stuff in Miami.
And we're impacted. David Cutcliffe came on Move the 6 years ago, and he talked about how at quarterback, he wants someone who has middle infielder hands. And when you look at Cam deliver, you do see the exchange, the ability to turn to and do all those things.
And that's the Tennessee Titans who have the first round pick right there. I'm standing behind.
It just leads you to believe that the RPO game, he can just terrorize people doing that at the next level.
Yeah, I also find that, we've done, you guys and I, we've done these pro days for, almost 10 years now. And I think it's also really interesting to note, like, the different atmospheres, the different environments that you go through as we get Cam starting to.
Nice crisp.
Oh, nice out right there.
Yeah,
I like that they're getting him under the center.
Session
too.
early on, there was no focus on the feet. Now you can see a
College
concerted
is still
effort.
a lot of
He
people
is
that stay
crisp
under-
with what he's
stay in
doing.
the shotgun and they get it to the NFL.
Brian Baldinger with us on the field. Baldy, what's it feel like in there watching Cam now that this thing has really kind of gotten going here? We're starting to get into the meat of this thing.
Nice and warm.
Well, I mean, the RPMs of the throws have picked up. I'll tell you that. There's no more layups, guys. And this is, this is Full Metal Jacket here. But I just want DJ to look. As a former quarterback, he got a very pronounced right foot. It's way up. Even when he goes under center here, that foot is way up, and the left foot's back. Like he rocks off that left foot from there to be able to throw that slant. But that slant comes out hot right there. That's a good-looking throw. You want to see these quarterbacks throw live. That's an impressive looking arm on that quick slant.
Yeah, Baldy, it's a good point. It's taught differently, and you see the quarterbacks that play with a stagger and others that play more straight up. It's it's kind of a preference thing more than anything else. Some coaches are very, very strong in their opinion. Others want you to do what you're most comfortable with. But the most important thing is getting out of there.
And for people who aren't familiar with this is all scripted too. So, like, when I mean scripted, Daryl, as you see with the quarterback select black hoodie on, they develop these strips. So, like, Cam would been able to practice what he's going to be doing with these receivers for months now. So they're going through strips. They're going to do out routes. They're going to do phase. They're going to be under center, out of center. Like, it's going to be all this. This has all been produced. So you can see it, everything, and see everything moving.
Looking at some of the folks that attend.
Everything that we see him do, we've seen him do a million times on tape, though. So there's no surprises when it comes to the arm talent that he displays.
I love that last one. I feel like you see that often.
Let's see that again.
Lucky, if you're sitting there as a coach and a GM, I mean, obviously you've seen probably almost every throw that he's made, especially this last year at Miami on tape already. What are the most valuable pieces of these moments that you're getting to see in person?
I mean, really, it's just him checking off the boxes.
Yeah.
Just having the final opportunity in a dress rehearsal to see him look great. You talk about being able to hear the ball, feel the whiz, feel the power, the velocity is coming off his hands when he make those throws. Everything that we see him do, we've seen him do a million times on tape, though. So there's no surprises when it comes to the arm talent that he displays.
I love that last one. I feel like you see that.
See him throw some deep balls.
He does a nice job of keeping his front side tucked too. Sometimes you'll see guys get a little bit open, it kind of flies open, the ball
Talking about hips
up on him. Yeah, he does a nice job of keeping that nice and tucked.
Throwing off to the right side here.
Good for this man.
Nice catch.
A little bit high, but not a lot of hands. So as you can see, I'm not going to play all 46 minutes of that. As you can see, that's Cam Ward, his pro day. Shador has his pro day coming up this Friday, actually. His pro day is coming up this Friday. And, you know, if you guys see my other takes, I feel that Cam Ward is ready to play now. Like, he's ready to play now. Like, you can put him in a system and he's ready to play now. I feel like if you send him to Tennessee, he's able to play now. But the biggest thing is you need someone who's willing to take a couple seasons because Tennessee doesn't have the weapons he needs. So you're going to have to build at it too. Maybe they'll get him a couple receivers that he feel comfortable with and go from there. But I want you guys to be able to hear what Pat McAfee.
It was here at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt, Con Man.
So let me play that for you guys real quick before I get you guys on out of here. I want you guys to hear what Pat McAfee had to say about old Cam Ward. And he feels that he solidified that first spot.
New England Patriots, Mike Vrabel joined Don't At Me with Dan Dawkins.
That's
today.
right.
We have not got a chance to hear much of that, but you guys in a great spot with the way the mock drafts are going, sitting there at number 4.
Yeah, I feel fantastic, especially when Elliot Wolf comes out, basically the pseudo GM. I believe he is still the director of player personnel and says, hey, look, last year we kind of drafted on, you know, what do we need the most? This year we're drafting based on best available. So
Going to be the number 1 overall pick. Congrats, Cam.
Oh, yeah,
Congrats, Cam. Minus 700 is a massive favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like everybody kind of understands it. Then he has his pro day yesterday.
Yeah.
Shows out completely. And I think he even says to the Tennessee Titans people like, hey, I'm going to solidify this thing today. What did you see from that pro day yesterday? And how much should we be judging from pro days?
You know what? Pro day is not a big deal. I think DJ said it yesterday. For this guy, for Cam Ward, is pretty much a proof of life. He just needed to show up, hold that day's newspaper, and show that he was alive. But he came out there and did. Heard him speak afterwards. He said pretty much a bunch of their Miami stuff, you know, running plays, game-like reps. We knew who he is. Yeah, 3-step, 5-step, under center, moving from the pocket, things we typically see from the pro days. We all remember the Zach Wilson when he flew up the boards. But this guy, he's been a dominant competitor everywhere he's been. Watching his pro day again, it made me heartbroken again as a UM fan. How the hell didn't we at least get into the 12-team playoffs? With, I mean, the record-breaking season that he had at UM and what this offense did. So, yeah, Cam Ward, he did what a ton of people expect him to do. And, yeah, it's pretty much locked down and he will be.
So you see that some of his stats there, he broke the division record for passing touchdowns in a career. He solidified himself as the top pick. In one season at Miami, he threw for 4,313 yards, 39 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. 67.2% completion rate. He finished college career with 158 touchdown passes and 18,189 passing yards. And he was also a 2024 Heisman finalist. So again, man, like I tell people, I'm a huge Shador fan, but I feel that Cam Ward is ready to play. He's a plug and play person right now. Shador can be a plug and play, but I also feel Shador needs a little bit more. And when I say a little bit more, he's going to need more protection up front due to Cam Ward being more mobile than Shador. I feel Cam Ward has more arm strength than Shador, but to me, Shador has better accuracy than Cam Ward. I watched a lot of them training together, so you get to obviously see what they do best. Shador footwork, immaculate. Like you watch him moving back and forth through the bags, his footwork, he doesn't have to look down. He knows exactly what he's doing. And we get to see that on film. You get to see him evade, the rushers. We got to see it a lot in Colorado, unfortunately. But he did that very well. Cam Ward is more mobile. He can run. But, numbers don't lie. He had a great career with Miami. My thing is, will we be talking about Cam Ward if he didn't transfer to Miami? That's the only thing I think, because I think he was at Washington State or somewhere before this. I want to say he was at Washington State before this. Let me check, because I want to make sure I'm right before I let you guys go. Before he got to, he was at Washington State before he got to Miami. So he was at Washington State. Which he did decent at Washington State, but he didn't have the weapons that he had at Miami. So it's just one of those things, man. Like I said, he's a plug and play for sure. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching all 46 minutes of his pro day, because I love watching stuff like that. Then they're going to be going live on Friday from 2:30 to 3:30, I think it is, on NFL Network for Shador pro day. So before I let you guys go, again, appreciate everybody who tuned in. I will be clipping this up, so you'll be seeing individual clips go out as well. Look forward to hearing your comments. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. You can even hit that notification bell if you want to know when every time I drop something new. But again, I appreciate everybody's support of Souls of Thought, Grown Folks Business on Wednesday. And hopefully I can get back to my sports with my guys. We might have some new additions. See if my boy Durant could come back. And then my boy Plug that you all see on Wednesdays. It might even get D in there. I know D likes sports. So really would love to talk about that. NFL is about to come back around. The UFL is starting. So I'm a big sports fan. Baseball is about to start up again. So we'll see. But again, thank everyone for your support. Thank the good and the bad. Make sure you always leave comments. We appreciate hearing your feedback. If there are certain topics that you would like to hear about, put them in the comments. We could talk about anything, but I usually talk about what happened weekly that kind of went viral. The one thing I didn't talk about today was, everybody's seen the Lauren LaRosa and the, what is her name? Jess Hilarious. They had their little squabble, their little beef, but it seems like everybody covered it, and we all know how the outcome of that went. So again, before I let you guys go, I always tell you, God loves you, which is most importantly. I love you. You're beautiful, and your boy's out. There you
Life is complicated when you count this paper.